This year, in developing nations, more than 10 million children under the age of 12 will die due to illnesses that are preventable or treatable. Millions more, children and adults, will contract diseases that will rob them of their health and undermine their livelihood. Many of these illnesses have familiar names: tuberculosis, malaria, HIV/AIDS. Other illnesses, such as elephantiasis and leishmaniasis, are less known. These neglected diseases afflict millions of the world's poorest people.
What I found in my work is that people who work in biotech, who work in industry, and certainly who work in all of the sort of global health field, actually share a common goal, which is to improve human health. And we go about it in different ways, and we have different constraints, but there's no question to me that working together we can actually achieve huge successes.
We have to work together on this, and it's really important that the donors and the NGO community understand the mechanism that drives investment by the private sector in bioinnovation, because when you understand that mechanism, you can tune it and get what you want.
We have tremendous hope that all the organizations that have focused their efforts on these problems, by pulling together, working together, can create totally novel solutions that will have a tremendous impact on healthcare in the developing world.
We look at a whole set of policy and financing challenges that really impede access to medicines, development of new medicines for neglected diseases, and try to understand how to solve those problems, bringing together a whole set of different players, be they donors, developing country governments, the World Health Organization, and others.
Creating and delivering new medicines for neglected diseases has proven to be a daunting challenge, one that has led global health leaders to rightly ask, how can the innovative drive of the biotechnology industry, which has been primarily focused on diseases of developed nations, be harnessed to offer new hope to people plagued by more than their share of disease?
I think that the presence of a biotech industry has allowed individual entrepreneurs who have great ideas and actually translate them into reality and start companies designed to actually make huge impacts on these neglected tropical diseases.
We have 6 candidates in phase 1 or about to enter phase 1. We hope in the next 5 years we'll prove which of those candidates have a feasible or reasonable chance of becoming a vaccine by actual testing in infants in South Africa, and then go on to start our phase 3 trial so that by 2015 we think there should be a new vaccine for TB.
Rotarix is interesting. I think it was Bill Gates who said, I can't believe that there is a disease that kills 600,000 children a year that I've never heard of. And he was speaking of rotavirus infection. It's diarrhea and severe vomiting in babies. And in the US, it causes quite a lot of hospitalization and economic burden, but in the developing world, it kills 600,000 children a year. I think Avant's business model for serving the developing world is perhaps unique, but certainly could serve others in that we are looking at dual markets. One for the developed world, in our case, travelers' vaccines, the other for the developing world, children who are dying of these diseases.
Increasingly, leaders of biotechnology companies are looking for ways to overcome market, financial, and information barriers that stand in the way of contributing to the fight against neglected diseases.
The reality is that drugs and vaccines that come out the other end and get used in patients come from the private sector. But people working in this field confront the reality of the financial structure in which money flows to these companies based on expected returns.
I think increasingly biotechnology companies are finding that they can be part of the solution here, that they can apply what they know about the science and what they know about the technology to meet some of these unmet needs. They can do that in partnerships with the NGOs, giving the capability to find out what the scientific capacity of these companies are, and giving the funders the opportunity to try to marry together the needs of the disease groups with the capacities of the industry. That kind of a partnership can work miracles.
With 85% of the world underserved by the biopharmaceutical industry, the opportunities to develop new drugs, vaccines, and diagnostics for disease-specific medicines are clear.
One approach to solving this problem is to go discover intrinsic markets that have been overlooked. So for example, BioVentures for Global Health carried out a market study of the intrinsic market for a TB vaccine that discovered, through careful work, that the market for TB vaccine is hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Well, that's a lot larger than I would have thought it was, and many others. So that recognition alone might stimulate some private sector investment from capable bioinnovators to tackle that problem. The second leg may be to synthesize or invent incentives when we come to understand that they truly aren't there.
So we think fundamentally we have to work to create incentives and markets that will attract new investment and will draw initiative of the industry. There's really been a revolution in funding for R&D, led principally by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who've done a spectacular job of creating public-private partnerships.
We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for partnerships. We wouldn't be manufacturing a vaccine through those doors today that's going to be tested in people later this year if it wasn't for partnerships.
Biotech is able to come up with all of these innovative solutions to diseases and problems of 21st century medicine. I think it would be a crying shame if we couldn't get biotech advances into the hands of people who really need it in the developing world.
I'm completely optimistic that if we can put together this incredible scientific capacity that biotechnology companies have with the commitment that the NGOs have to beat these diseases all over the world and the commitment that the funders have, we set these three people together on this mission, and I think we'll succeed.